Welcome back to Post Creature Pre-Dirt. This is my channel. I'm Maren. I'm an aspiring novelist and full-time creative. And oh, my kitty's gonna come in here. Come here, babies. Come here, pumpkin. We might have a little joiner. Come here. You wanna be in the shot? Come here, babies. Meow. Right now I am sitting in my van, which is currently out of commission, but this is my van. This is one of the few things that I own in this life. Her name is Rosie. Very pink, very old. She's a 1991 Chevy G20. Love this van. This van has taken me all over the country. I love her. And we'll just have Miss Aria sniffing around and checking it out in the back. So that'll be a nice little thing for you guys to see. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've had on my mind for a really, really long time. And I've wanted to make a video about this, but I haven't been sure what kind of format I wanted to do. If I wanted to do like a video essay or if I just kind of wanted to like speak from the heart a little bit more. There's a fly in here. Are you hunting the fly? Today, I really wanted to talk about audacity. What I've been thinking about a lot recently is how we live in a revolutionary time. And there's this great movie called Spaceship Earth that I would really recommend everybody watching to watch. If you're viewing that film through a particular lens, you'll see a group of people who really believed in each other and they had the audacity to do some really crazy cool things together. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, just over the past few months as I've been, starting this YouTube channel and as I've been trying to, get traction on my other project, Death in the Garden, and also just writing a novel in general and writing a novel trilogy, something that feels really delusional to be undertaking. I've been having this sort of recurrent thought in my mind of like, who do you think you are? Who are you to do all of these things? Who are you to be creative? Who are you to try to, carve your own path in life? And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like it's really drilled into my mind. And I'm sure that I had a conversation with someone when I was a kid and kind of someone maybe said that to me and made me feel like I should, I was like too big for my britches or something like that. In this film Spaceship Earth, one of the subjects, I don't know her name, she talks throughout the film about how there are certain periods of time, certain eras where there's like an opening of possibilities. And that opening is really rare. It's only during revolutionary times that opening even occurs. And she just keeps reiterating throughout the film, like the importance of like when that opening happens, that's when you act. Like if that opening comes, it's a very rare thing and you have to act, you have to take hold of it. If you want to like really make something of yourself within your historical moment, you have to really take advantage of those openings and act. And I've been thinking about a lot, like as I've been working on all these different projects, like how much audacity it requires to assert like, yeah, I have something to say. I have something that I want to create and I want to share with the world. Like there's a level of like delusionality and grandiosity that goes into sort of having that perspective. But more and more as I think about it, the more important I feel like it is, and the more I want to encourage other people to have the audacity to do the thing that they feel like they're put on earth to do. It seems crazy during this like very uncertain time where the economic system is like crumbling under its own complexity and all of these things are breaking down to suggest that like it's important for artists to be artists and like the time is now to do that. The time is now to have the audacity to like be the person who you want to be. But I just feel so compelled to share that message because like not because there's any reward on the other side of it necessarily, but because the world right now needs an ecology of different people doing different things. And I think that artists and storytellers play a huge role in that, like in the shaping of our culture and the building of new stories and of narrativizing the world that we live in. The little voice in my head that is always trying to tell me to stay smaller and that's asking me, who do I think I am? That voice, I think, is something that's coming from the culture as well as maybe from like a friend or something when I was 10. I think we're entering a time where it's going to feel really impractical and irresponsible to focus on things like art or your passion project or some dream that you have of like the kind of person that you want to become. And I just want to make the case that like we're only going to get out of the crises that we face if enough people have the audacity to bring forth their gift and share it with the world, whatever that looks like. The world is going to want us to continue playing small. The world is going to try to tell you that your book isn't worth anyone's time, that your piece of art isn't worth anyone's time, that the film that you're making isn't marketable, all of these things. But I just really feel so strongly that, like, more than ever, we need people and storytellers who want to create within a new paradigm of thinking. And, you know, right now, especially with like how much AI is encroaching on everything, more than ever, we need humans to show up and make their art. And it's like so much of the messaging is like, you're going to be replaced, you're going to be obsolete. And that's what they want. And sorry, I'm using a kind of amorphous they, but, you know, if you think of like a sort of a corporate class of elites, it's like, yeah, they want to mine our creativity. They would rather us be consumers than creators. And so why not create using their technology that is just a regurgitation of all of the shit that they can put on their servers? There's a concerted effort to make us into consumers rather than creators. And I just feel like the time is now to create your great work, to do the thing that you feel so called to do. Because the thing is like, things are only going to get harder from here, potentially. And I think we need to be really aware of that. We need to be aware that, like, right now might be one of the last chances that you have to start that project that you've always wanted to start, to show the world your beautiful mind and the things that make you excited about life. And I think that that's going to be part of the unfolding of the better world. And unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of resistance to that. We don't live in a culture that like rewards the process, you know, like I often think of like Chapel Roan as an example, where it's like everyone's kind of like, oh my God, she's this like overnight success, when in reality, you know, she was like busking for like 10 years and she got a record deal and then got dropped. And it was like a long struggle. And then she reaches this success point and then suddenly everybody's lauding her. But I think about like how crazy she must have seemed to everyone in her life during that process where nothing was going right and she's busking and she's a barista and she's not making any money. I can imagine, because I've had similar conversations where I feel like people think that I'm insane for still believing in myself and still believing that I have a right to share with the world the things that I want to share and that it actually matters. I understand, you know, a lot of the time it comes from a place of concern, a place of like, you know, people wanting you to be okay. But I just think that there's always going to be people who they are compelled and called to share something with the world, and they will not rest until that happens. And if that's you, I just want to tell you, like, you're not crazy. And actually, the world needs you right now more than ever to do the thing that you feel called and inspired to do. Because right now, I am trying to reclaim an audacity that I had, that I feel like I've sort of lost as I've been humbled by life and have been sort of weathered by the limitations that are inherent to life, that, you know, you have to learn how to work within. Like, I'm not saying that we should manically go out and, you know, ruin our lives and blow up, like, you know, fill up credit cards and like be so audacious that we like destroy our lives. I think we need to do things within limits, but there's a boldness that I think all of us either need to recover and reclaim or claim for the first time. And, you know, there's a lot of stories that I could share of, you know, times when it's like, I just set my mind to something and I did it. And I didn't worry about how grandiose I was being or how bold I was being. I knew what I was trying to accomplish and I went out and did it. Sometimes life humbles you and you have to learn how to be a little bit more mature in that space. And I think that that's a journey that all of us have to go on, especially people who want to do big things and have big ambitions. But I guess it's like, I want to validate the experience of being someone who is very ambitious. And part of having the audacity is like really knowing yourself and knowing what you have to offer. And there's going to be people, even people who are really aligned with you, even people who really like you feel like understand you and understand what you're trying to do. They might still feel that you're not doing enough or you're not doing the right thing, that you should be doing something else. It's like everybody has an opinion. And, I just think that it's like there's not one right way to make a difference in the world. Right now, we need a diversity of different people and different skills and different things to be able to create the future that I think we all want to live in, like one where like water is clean and there's justice for people and like the earth, and, when we're not living in this sort of like dystopia. And in order to do that, like, there's so many creative roles that will need to be filled. And I think that often our culture sort of like pushes a narrative that you have to be like one way and that's it. There's like one path towards making a difference. And, I've had the experience of like talking to like, permaculturists, for instance, that are kind of like minimizing the impact of things like storytelling and making films and making videos and things like that, and like trying to spread the word and being a translator for these things. And I've kind of had to defend myself and be like, no, I belong here too. Like, as a creative, I belong here too. I belong in the unfolding of all of these things too. And I think that like we're all going to have that sort of struggle of like there's going to be people who want to push back against us or say that our story doesn't matter or the thing that we're trying to share doesn't matter. But I think it's so important that we continue grinding through that process. We continue pushing forward, even when it's like, it seems like all the odds are against us. The thing about being a creative and being like an aspiring creative, being someone who like really wants to share important and cool things with the world, is it's not easy. It's really hard. This video, more than anything, is just me trying to say, like, if that is you, thank you. Thank you for continuing to show up every day, even when the world doesn't believe in you, even when you're confusing the people in your life because you're so devoted to what you're doing, even when you're not getting any money for what you're doing, even when you're struggling to make ends meet while you're doing it, even when you're just trying so hard to like make sense of the world and create something from that. Like, I just think that it's so important, and I just want to be one voice that validates that experience and says that you're not crazy. We live in a culture that like really that only values art when it's like perfect and it's there and and you've made it. There's no valuing of the process. And I think that's what I love about AuthorTube, is it's like this romanticization of the process. And so much of it is about like how messy it is and how hard it is and how, we're trying to work out how to write these novels and we're trying to do this thing. And it's like, I feel like it's really cool to create, to witness other people in the process of creation, because it helps you realize that it's like, this is such a human thing. And this is such a valuable thing. And there's so much struggle and strife that goes into creating things. And I wish that we lived in a world that really valued that, and that said, like, you see a kid and you're like, oh, you want to be an artist? Like, this is going to be really hard, and I'm going to support you every step of the way. I'm going to try to make it so that you feel like you have something to offer to the world, and that your value isn't dictated by how much money you make or how successful you become. And those things I think are, of course, important. And like, I want those things. I want to be successful. I want to not worry about where my next meal comes from, just like anybody else. But I just think that, there have been times in the past where like things were valued. I think about the Renaissance a lot, and how I feel like we are sort of entering a sort of Renaissance right now, where that with the advent of AI, it's like held up such a mirror to our culture and how much we've undervalued things like art. And, while people are using it for X, Y, and Z reason, for me, that's what it indicates. It's just like, okay, yeah, of course. This is like the next extension of like all art is entertainment, and how much can you capitalize on it? Books and movies are only made if they're going to have mass appeal, and they need to be really safe and boring and blah, blah, blah. Of course, the ultimate endpoint of that would be like, well, let's just have the machines write the stories. Let's just have the machines make the art. It doesn't really matter anyway. We're all just scrolling on our phone while we watch movies anyway, so who gives a shit? Like, it seems like the ultimate endpoint of that sort of perspective. And I think what is happening in response to that is like, there's a lot of people who are like, well, fuck that. I'm going to write my own book. I want to create things. I want to do practical effects. I want to create things without the use of a computer. And so I feel like there's this sort of like analog indie renaissance that's happening right now, or at least we're maybe at the very, very beginning of it. What I'm hoping is that it'll mirror the Renaissance, where artists were really valued for the cultural contributions that they were making. And I hope that that's something that can happen in a maybe even a more democratized way. And I'm hoping that that's something that can happen in the 2020s. I just think right now, with the crisis of meaning, with so many systems that are breaking down all around us, culture is going to be one of the things that really matters. And storytelling, above all else, I think is going to be so important. And I just know that like we're in an interesting period of time where these things are so necessary, but we also have a culture that doesn't value the process. And that's like, you know, kind of assuming that like an AI generated book is like just as good as a book that takes someone 10 years to gestate and write. So we have a tough job right now, I think, as creatives. And I just want to say, like, keep on keeping on. Don't give up, because on the other side of this, we're going to be so grateful for the time that we spend having the audacity to work on our crafts anyway, in spite of everything, in spite of how shitty everything else is. I'm going to be so happy that I woke up at 6 a.m. and, you know, went into my closet office, and that I did it when I didn't have the resources. Because the thing is, it's like, I might never have the resources to do it, but I still want to do it. It's more important for me to write these books and make these films than anything else. It really is. Like, that's my calling. And I'll do whatever it takes to make that happen. I know that I'm not alone in that. I know that there are people all over the world that are exactly like me and that will do whatever it takes to fulfill their calling. And I just want to be a voice that says, like, thank you for doing that. Keep on keeping on. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But like, you belong here. Your story matters. Your art matters. Your films matter. Anything that you're trying to bring into the world matters. As the world gets scarier around us, we're going to start to really realize like how impoverished our culture is as far as stories and visions and paths forward. And it's going to be so important for people to be continuing to cultivate these ideas even when it's hard. And we have to believe that we can do it. And we also have to find other people who believe that we can do it. We have to believe in each other. There's so much cool shit that we can do if we believe in each other. It's just, you know, the human capacity for ingenuity and creativity is just like beautiful. And in order for us to believe that we can do it against all odds, we really have to sort of tap into this place of audacity. And in order for us to really believe that we can do it in the current world that we live in our current circumstances, even when we're not feeling resourced, it's to have that level of audacity. And I do use that word specifically because it's like, I think that there's a level of delusionality and grandiosity that we have to embody in order to be the people that we want to be in the world. We have to believe, even if it sounds egotistical and vain to say it, that like, the world will be worse if we don't share our gifts with the world. And that's something that I believe is true. Like, I think that we all have a reason for being here, and the world is more dim and worse off if we never believe that that story was worth writing, or we think that, oh, I'm not good enough for that. I that's not for me. Oh, who do I think I am? Who do you think you are? I just think we have to get over that. We have to get over ourselves. We have to get over this sort of the shame that holds us back from creating the things that we know we need to create. Because if anyone's like me, and I know that I'm not alone in this, you know that there's a story in you that is trying to come out. That's what it feels like when you're trying to write a book. I often think about the George Orwell quote from his essay, Why I Write. And it's like, you know, he's talking about how writing a book is like a long, exhausting, painful struggle. And like no one would do it if they weren't possessed by some demon that they can't understand. And like, it's like, you're birthing something into the world. And, you know, whether it's a book, whether it's a big piece of artwork, whether it's a film, whatever, like there's so many things that require like so much struggle and suffering to create. Maybe part of it is that our culture has really valued convenience, or there's a lot of like nepotism. And so things are the things that we consume are created more easily by people who have more resources. But whatever the case may be, it's hard to be like an artist who has a vision and wants to create it and doesn't have the sort of resources and is trying against all odds to do it. And I just think that we should be really proud of ourselves for doing it, even when it's hard. So yeah, this video is a little bit more of a rant than I was anticipating, but I guess I just want to say, like, I just want to reiterate, like, you know, the time is now. It really is now. If you need a sign to start writing your book or start creating your piece of art, do it now. Like, there's not going to be a better time to do it. Things in the world could get really shaky and really dicey really fast. And at least for me, I still think it's important for me to write my books. I still think it's important for me to make my films. And whether or not other people see that contribution as valuable, I know it is. And the problems that we face in the world, there's a practical, boots on the ground crisis that, is multi-front, multivalent. It's coming from all sides. And then there's a deeper cultural one that is going to require, that's really all hands on deck. Of the world is asking a lot of us right now. It's asking us to be really, really responsible. And I really think that storytellers are going to hold a lot of responsibility for the direction that our world goes. And I think that we should take that seriously, even if it's in our own small way where we're sharing this one little story that just feels so important for us to share. I just think it matters. I just think now, like, where we're already being flooded with all kinds of AI slop and really half-baked creations, the time is now to get started on your project. The time is now to be able to show the world, especially when these bubbles pop and people get sick of all this stuff and be like, yeah, I'm creating real shit. I have been for a while. Like, that's really cool. And I just want more people to feel inspired to do it. And, whether this video resonates or not, if you needed a sign to start today. Do it now. This is your sign. Anyway, thank you for watching.